You know, in the fight against Alzheimer's, we've spent decades looking for a villain, for something toxic that gets added to the brain. But what if the real problem isn't something that's there, but something that's missing? A brand new discovery just published in the journal Nature points to a stunning possibility that could honestly change everything we thought we knew.
And this one question, it just flips the entire script on decades of research. We've been hunting for a toxic invader, right? But what if the very first domino to fall in this devastating disease is just the absence of a vital protective element? That's the incredible scientific detective story we're going to unravel today.
So, let's be honest. Alzheimer's has been one of the greatest puzzles in all of medicine. We can see the damage it does in the later stages, sure, but that initial spark, the tiny little thing that first lights the devastating fire inside the brain, that has been a complete and total mystery. Until, maybe, now.
To search for that first clue, scientists at Harvard basically became molecular forensic investigators. They looked at brain tissue from 3 different groups. You had people who were cognitively healthy, then people with mild cognitive impairment, that potential step before Alzheimer's, and finally, those with the full-blown disease. The mission was to measure 27 different metals in these brains, to see if just one of them could tell a different story.
Okay, and this is where the whole investigation takes a really fascinating turn. See, the team wasn't just looking for some harmful substance that was added to the brain. They were also looking for a protective one that might have gone missing. And what they found? It was truly remarkable.
The results were just shockingly clear. Out of all 27 metals they looked at, we're talking things like zinc, copper, iron, only one, just one, showed this dramatic, significant change. And it wasn't an increase. It was a depletion. The brains of people with cognitive decline were seriously running low on one specific element, lithium.
But here's the absolute kicker, the detail that changes the game. This loss of lithium wasn't just showing up in patients with advanced Alzheimer's. As the study points out, it was already there in people with only mild cognitive impairment. This was a massive clue. It meant the loss of lithium wasn't some late-stage side effect. It could be one of the very first dominoes to fall.
So that immediately leads to the next big question, right? Why is the lithium disappearing? Is it just fading away on its own, or is something in the brain actively getting rid of it? The answer to that question revealed this incredibly destructive feedback loop, right at the very heart of the disease.
Now, to understand this loop, we have to talk about a very familiar suspect, amyloid plaques. You've heard of these. They're the sticky clumps of protein that are famous for gumming up the works in Alzheimer's brains. For decades, they've been public enemy number 1. And here is the incredible twist. The researchers found out these plaques aren't just sitting there causing trouble. No, they're acting like tiny molecular magnets. They are actively trapping the brain's own natural lithium, pulling it out of circulation and locking it away where it can't do its job.
So let's just walk through this, because it creates a devastating vicious cycle. It starts with a few amyloid plaques forming. These plaques then trap the brain's lithium. And here's the crucial part. The resulting low lithium environment actually makes the brain create more plaques and tangles even faster. And of course, more plaques means more lithium gets trapped, and the destructive spiral just spins faster and faster and faster. The disease literally feeds itself.
The little molecular engine that's driving this whole destructive loop is an enzyme with a funny name, GSK3-beta. Now, normally, your brain's natural lithium helps keep this enzyme calm and under control. But when the lithium levels plummet, GSK3-beta goes into total overdrive, basically flooring the gas pedal on creating the very plaques and tangles that define Alzheimer's. Okay, so if the plaques are the trap, the next question is pretty obvious, isn't it? How do you design a key that can get past them? The scientists had a brilliant idea for a kind of stealth lithium, one that could slip right by the plaque's defenses.
So they tested 2 different kinds. On one side, you have your standard lithium carbonate, LiC. Turns out it's super sticky. The plaques just grab onto it immediately. So no surprise, it did absolutely nothing in the Alzheimer's mouse models. But then they tried lithium orotate, or LiO. This version is way less sticky. It was able to bypass the plaques, get to the brain cells that needed it, and the results were just stunning. It dramatically reversed the damage.
And get this, the amount they needed was tiny. We're talking up to 1,000 times lower than the doses of lithium you see used for psychiatric conditions. And this is so important because it opens the door to a potential therapy that could completely avoid the toxicity concerns that come with high-dose lithium. It's a game changer. To really hammer the point home, the scientists did one last, crucial experiment. They took healthy mice and just induced a lithium deficiency. The results were immediate and stark. The poor mice developed basically every hallmark of Alzheimer's disease: memory loss, plaque buildup, brain inflammation, you name it. Their brains just started to break down.
But then came the rescue mission. They took those same mice and treated them with that low-dose, plaque-evading lithium, and the turnaround was extraordinary. Every single one of those deficits was corrected. It didn't just put the brakes on the damage. It actually restored brain function. It rebooted the brain's cleaning crews, and it even reversed the memory loss. Just incredible.
So let's just zoom out for a second. What does a discovery like this really mean for the bigger picture of brain health, of aging? Well, the implications are profound. This could potentially shift our entire approach to thinking about this disease.
What this research is really doing is proposing a major paradigm shift. What if Alzheimer's isn't primarily a disease of toxic stuff building up in the brain? What if, at its core, it's actually a syndrome that's caused, or at least massively accelerated, by a deficiency of one crucial protective element? It completely reframes the entire problem.
All right, so let's boil it all down. What should you take away from this? First, it seems like our brain's own supply of natural lithium is absolutely vital for staying sharp as we age. Second, that vicious cycle between plaques and lithium, that could be one of the earliest things that goes wrong, a key driver of the disease. And third, and maybe most hopefully, this points to a totally new strategy: using a smart, low-dose, plaque-evading form of lithium as both a way to prevent and treat this disease.
And that leaves us with this final, really fascinating thought. Lithium was literally forged in the Big Bang. It's one of the oldest and simplest elements in the entire universe. And is it possible that this ancient, simple element holds a key to protecting our most complex organ from one of its most devastating diseases? That's a truly hopeful thought to end on.